everyone, and welcome back to the AOS Crowd, your channel dedicated to all things competitive Age of Sigmar. On this episode, we're going to talk about my event I've just been to at Blackout in Firestorm Games, Cardiff.
Woot woot.
So, this event, long-standing event within the UK, tends to get a really large amount of attendees. So this year was 86, which is fantastic. I decided to go against the norm a little bit, and I took Kruleboyz.
Lovely, lovely choice. But the decision behind this is a little bit convoluted. We spoke about this ahead of the recording, and I'm sure everyone's keen to hear why Kruleboyz, when everyone knows you have a pile of gold sitting at home in the shape of a fully painted Nighthaunt army.
Yeah, so obviously knew Nighthaunt were fantastic, and they're probably in their own tier above anything else at the moment. Maybe Lumineth running it pretty close. But I decided this year I was going to do like new edition, new army. So I bought Lumineth Realm Lords at the beginning of August. And I was all there, ready to go, going to get the Lumineth out. And then I realised how much I hated painted Lumineth the first time I did it. So a week after buying the Lumineth, and about 2 weeks out from Blackout, I decided I'd buy a Kruleboyz army and get that done instead, because I really like the idea of the dirty tricks, the kind of skill ceiling that it could give you, and player expression, and all the shenanigans involved in OS4. So I decided to run with it and unleash deplete my bank account and buy 2 armies in the same month. What it did mean though was, with getting it all painted and built, didn't get a huge amount of practice games.
Hold on, let me guess. 12.
No, less. 3. I got 1 done with proxies before I bought it. And absolutely smashed off 18 rock guts. And then I was like, I can play this. This is fun. And then refused to play another practice game until I got it all painted. I was like, right, you're not allowed to practice now until that army's done, completed, and you can play it Blackout. So 10 days later, get it all painted. 3 days before Blackout, get 2 more games in. But yeah, it's just an army that kind of really intrigued me from the offset in OS4. It plays the game differently. It also plays really well in your opponent's turn with the dirty tricks. And also the countercast, specifically with the manifestation law that I decided to take. So I decided I was going to lean into the stopping and denying battle tactics. So I used Forbidden Power, which is the one with Soulscream Bridge, most importantly, and the shards. Never really did I use them to teleport with the bridge. It was more blocking space and zoning off, seize the center or take the flanks. And just, like I say, really leaning into the denial of opponents. You can see that people set up to take the flanks. You can see that people set up to take the center. And that spell lore is just absolutely ridiculous. And again, comboed with the fact that, because they're non-moving manifestations, you can put them as close to your opponent as possible. So if your army's got little legs and they can't clear the Soulscream bridges, you're absolutely laughing. Or, as we're coming to in a few of my games later on, even if your army's really quick, there's ways in which you can measure it out and really reduce their movement, which is pretty nice.
But that's not necessarily the only thing that drew you to the army, right?
No,
there's no use sweet talking it. We've all seen the profile of Gut Rippers.
Yeah, gut rippers on their own, they look a bit like, not sure what you're talking about. And then when you explain to people that when they're buffed by rolling 2 2-ups, they do 28 mortal wounds on average. all of a sudden people's ears perk up. It's also 340 points for 40 wounds, so you're paying less than 10 points a wound. You've got the ability to save stack within Kruleboyz as well. And I know the base save isn't great, but you can get to +3 to save. You then have the once per game 5+ ward from the Mork's Eye Pebble.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I say, that combined with all the dirty tricks where you've got 5s and 6s do crits, the Sludge Draker's ability to, on a 2-up, give +1 damage. Then you've got Fight Last, dirty trick. You then have -1 to hit for non-monsters and heroes just on the Gut Ripper's War Scroll. You've then got all these monster killers that, again, they can make monsters fight last, that they can turn off monstrous rampages. It's just a book all about, well, I say a book, an index with lots of denial and debuffs that people can't interact with, and it's really strong. For me, I think it's one of the top 3 armies. I think you have Lumineth and Nighthaunt, which I think you can almost pick up and play. They're that strong. But I think if you were to just pick up and play Kruleboyz, you might struggle initially.
Yeah.
But there's such a high skill ceiling, I believe, with that. So in a strong player's hands, that army is going to lift it to a whole new level. And yeah, I think there's so much player expression within it as well, with all the dirty tricks, the way in which you can build the Kruleboyz army. Like the Vulture's incredible. I didn't use one this weekend, but I saw it get played with the 3+ retreat, but then you can pile into a new combat and then power through, and you just see all this incredible movement, and it's really cool to see. A couple of different sub-factions as well that you can take, so you can either go shooting and get +3 to your rangers. You can do the double teleport sub-faction with the dirty tricks, and then you have the one that I played, which is if you're holding within 3 of terrain, you can't be seen, and that proved pretty big in 2 of my games in particular. One of which didn't quite go my way, bit unlucky, but we'll come on to that and explain why unlucky and why I think one certain rule probably needs changing. So Matt Rose, if you're listening, sort it out. So, but I really recommend Kruleboyz to people that want to play with a different army that can play the tactical bounce around the board game, but also know you've got units within that army that are absolute hammers that will go in and destroy the world. So there's plenty of flex within that index.
And it's lovely to hear, knowing your playstyle last season, pretty much from December last year onwards, was hordes and hordes and hordes, board control and all that. And now moving on to a more technical army that requires a lot of interaction, a lot of thinking, and has a lot more tools at its disposal, so to speak. It's great to see that shifting skill set within a player.
Yeah, no, it's great fun. I think it improves your game immensely by learning different play styles and being willing to try them. So I've always been very much an aggro player for my first 2.5 years of AOS. And like you say, in December through to Worlds, I played Horde, objective control, counterpunch, and now to play this, which is a lot more technical thinking army. It was a refreshing change. I really enjoyed it. I'm undecided if I'll take it to my next event. I've got a new list that I want to start using, but I might keep it on the down low for some team events.
I see. All right. speaking of lists, take us through what you ran at the event. Of course, just a Kruleboyz list,
Yeah.
but you know.
Exactly. So I took a 2-drop. So my general was a Sludge Draker, and he's a pretty fundamental piece within the list for damage projection. He doesn't do any real damage himself, and once you wrap your head around that he's not expected to, you realise how good he is. He then had Egomaniac, so as long as you're within the combat range of other infantry units, he had a 4+ ward, but every success would pass a mortal wound damage onto that unit. He then had Mork's Eye Pebble, which is as soon as you're targeted by a attack ability, you then got a 5+ ward as long as you're wholly within 12 of him. So he's on, like, I think a 6-inch long base oval. So that 12-inch ward bubble is quite large. So inherently I'd set up all 60 gut rippers around him, and then it would be an initial screen of 20 and then 2 units of 20 off to the side, so that if they wanted to come in, they hit the screen and fine, it's 40 wounds. A lot of stuff in the game can't do 40 wounds worth of damage in one hit, and even if it can, if you pop the 5+ ward, if you've got your +1 save spell off, if you've then got the 3+ +1 save off, and then you all out defense, again, you're probably sat on a 4+, 5+.
Yeah.
If you've been doubled, or it's your opponent's turn, you might have then countercast the +1 save spell, and all of a sudden you've got 2 units that could be pluses just in case, or you've countercast bridge and you've put the bridge in front of you, and all of a sudden they can't pile in, they can't fight.
Yeah.
So really cool. He's an integral part of the army and how it works. So within the General's Regiment, I put 3 units of monster killers, because I wanted the ability to, again, deny the battle tactics of slay the entourage. So these units I could teleport around the board, because the dirty trick requires you to be an infantry unit with 10 or less models. A lot of my opponents thought I could just teleport the 20 gut rippers, and I was like, no, not until you kill 10 of them. So yeah, so that was the thought process between all the monster killers within there. Again, like 120 points for these guys, and their damage projection, it's 22 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1, 1 damage, crit mortals, but Ren 2 against monsters. The ability to shut monsters down as well by turning off rampages, by making them fight last, so you don't have to use a dirty trick to make them fight last. You can go around it that way. It's really cool, and also like on the bigger missions where you're playing across 6 or 8 objectives, just the ability to, as soon as your opponent steps off in their movement phase, if they've not screened it out or put in a manifestation to screen you out, you just teleport on. So it's super effective for points denial, tactic denial. It's really cool. The final piece of the General's Regiment, the kill bow. I really enjoyed it this weekend. It was super cool to use. I always put it in the +1 hit, +1 to wound against a General's Regiment battalion, because inherently, if you have a War Master, most of the time they're a monster.
Yeah.
And just the ability that in your turn to be +2, +1, so you get +1 to hit if you don't move. You've got 24-inch range. You're Ren 3 against monsters, flat damage 6 with crit auto wound, is incredible. And also just the threat of it. You could see during people's deployment that they're measuring outside of 29 to keep stuff safe.
Yeah.
And I'm there just going, I actually don't want to shoot your monster. I want to shoot the stuff that's going to get to me quicker. So I'm still going to be D6 damage at Ren 2 against this stuff. But it's just the threat of being able to do 12 damage at Ren 3 really makes people think about how they deploy against it, which is cool.
Yeah.
The 2nd Battalion was the Swamp Caller Shaman. I think you need more wizards in this army. The spell lore is incredible. You've got Token Miss, which is -1 attack, which is just unbelievable. To deny your opponents the attacks against an army of 5-up saves is fantastic. And then you have the +1 spell, +1 save spell, which again, when you're orcs in your pants, you want all the saves that you can get.
Mm-hmm.
And then comboed with the manifestation law, it's super strong. The forbidden power, I know everyone's running morbid, but I think there's more play and skill expression within forbidden in order to like deny space, deny tactics, etc. So that's the one I'll kind of use going forward. We got called the Kruleboyz because all four of us were in the same car. So we had myself, Seb, Simon Weekly, and my brother, who we were all 4 people that took forbidden power.
Yeah.
So we got nicknamed the Kruleboyz. So yeah, we all really enjoyed using it. Like in every game, everyone was super happy that they had access to that manifestation law as well. It came in clutch on a few occasions. And then building up the rest of the list, I had 3 units of 20 Gut Rippers. So
as you do.
Yeah, exactly. Why not? Why not? That was waves of buffing. So each turn you'd have your crit 5 and 6s, your double damage, and you'd just send them down the board. And each turn you would delete and trade, or maybe not even trade. You might just not die. But whatever I went into just got absolutely smashed. So super happy with the Gut Rippers. Loved the play around monster killers and the teleport, and then got a lot of use out of the sub faction of not being able to be seen outside of 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a good list. I'm almost inclined to see how it performs. Just hand it to one of my local Kruleboyz players and see what they do with it.
Yeah. Let them run with it and be free. It's such a fun army.
Speaking of running around, being free, punching people around, you were a bully at the tournament. Tell us about the games.
Yeah, so a small amount. So my round 1, I played a lovely gentleman called Stephen Harding. It was his first ever tournament. And his friend, who was also attending his first ever tournament, follows me on Twitter. So apparently when the pairings came out, he's like, "Oh, I've got this guy. Do you know who he is?" And his mate was like, "Yeah, so you've got the England captain? Yeah, that's going to be a really tough game." And I think he was maybe a little bit nervous going into it, and then he explained to me that this was his first event and he's not played a lot of AOS 4 yet. Yeah. And I just said, look, I'm happy to just run through whatever. If you forget anything, don't worry about it, but just go back. If you move something and then you go to move something else and you don't like where it is, we can rewind it. It doesn't bother me too much. So I just wanted to make sure that his experience of competitive Warhammer in a tournament environment was super positive from the outset, even though I knew the result probably wouldn't be.
Yeah.
So, and then just had a chat with him afterwards and told him about how I thought he could deploy differently in that scenario, what I'd maybe do in terms of what units I'd use to screen with, etc. And also how he can also deny space and counter denial of tactics using his own manifestations. So hopefully he learned a lot from it. But yeah, he was playing Fire Slayers. He got a painting nomination, which I think he was super happy about as well.
We love Fire Slayers.
They were very bright. They were bright orange. But yeah, they're really cool. Yeah, unfortunately for him, the scenario was the 4 objectives where you get 4 points for controlling theirs and 2 for the flanks and 1 for your own. I forgot the name of it. Is it Border War?
Yeah, I think so.
And I could see how he had set up, and I knew he wasn't doing take the flanks. So I knew he was doing seize the centre, and we had 2 like impassable bits of terrain in the middle. And maybe I wasn't the nicest guy, and I decided to countercast Skullscream Bridge, and I zoned off the middle of the board so that he couldn't do his battle tactic. So he kind of had 2 options. He could charge through the bridge, but then he's probably going to be about 6 or 7 inches away from my stuff once he gets everyone over the threshold. And then he opens it up for a counter charge from like 20 gut rippers, which he's not going to kill, and then he fails his battle tactic anyway. Decided, and which was the right play, was to put 3 units into combat with the bridge, charge them so that he could try and kill it on the first swing, and then pile in afterwards. So this for me was perfect because he had just committed 3 units to the middle of the board, where I was happy if he was going to score the points, because it then meant I'm going to just send 20 gut rippers into the middle, fully buffed, and delete the world. So I redeployed after I saw that he just moved up to the bridges. I knew he wasn't going to probably charge through. He was looking to do the fight, and then pile in. So yeah, I just redeployed to make my charge even smaller in the preceding turn. It was then my turn. Bridge was gone. He had 30 lads in the middle of the board. So I took off 20, which is 40 wounds, and the Molten Infernoth with 20 gut rippers.
Yeesh.
And then on the other objective, he had 10 lads, multi-hand axes, and they got taken off by 20 gut rippers unbuffed. So after that, he had 10 more Volkites, a Magma Droth, and 10 more fighty Poleaxe guys.
Yeah.
He won the turn, had to take it. Do an awful lot because I popped the pebble for 5-up ward. And then he lost almost a full unit of Poleaxes in his turn, which left me the ability to slay the entourage. And then at the end of my turn too, he had a rune master, I think, or a ginger hero, and maybe a handful of Volkites. So he was quite happy not to play anymore. We then had a chat about how he could deploy differently and set up for different plays, and that I told him that whilst he was getting his manifestation out on turn 1, he almost did it perfectly to stop me being able to stop him with bridge. But he then went against his idea and just tucked it around the side of a building, and it wasn't really doing anything. But he ended up going 2 and 3 at his first ever event.
Nice.
He said he's caught the bug, so hopefully we'll see him more on the scene. And a big shout out to his friend that he travelled up with, and he won Best Sports at his first ever event as well. So congratulations to both of them, and hopefully we'll see them around.
Golf claps all around.
Yeah, exactly. Game 2. Played against Oliver Chalk from the Plymouth Troll Slayers. So incredible bunch of humans down from Plymouth. He was playing Be'lakor, 12 Varangard, and some Furies. We played on the Vice.
Oh.
He played the first few turns exceptionally well with zoning out, making sure I couldn't get on his objectives. But people know Be'lakor needs line of sight to do its ability now. So I kept all my stuff near terrain and then fully buffed them and killed all the Vanguard. So I used the bridge to stop redeploy. So I cast the bridge over the top of the Vanguard after his turn 1. So on his turn 1 I cast it and put it in front of him.
Yeah.
He then killed it, and then I won prio. Took the turn, cast bridge again behind him, so he couldn't redeploy. Had all my gut rippers in the woods. He goes, "Oh, I'd like to Be'lakor then." I went, "Okay, you can't see them, so it's not a target. So you can keep your Be'lakor ability." Fully buffed them, went in, 38 mortal wounds. That was 6 dead Vanguard, all from one unit. And then my turn 2, he only had Be'lakor. And he played it out and came to fight me. I won the roll off again, and we shook hands. But Ollie's a lovely young man, and he's got a really cool 3D printed Slaves of Darkness army. And yeah, I can't speak more highly of the Plymouth Troll Slayers, so really good to see them all at the event, and I look forward to playing the next one of them. After that, we played against Slaves of Darkness again.
Doesn't it ever bother you? Don't you get emotionally upset that you have to combat your favorite army?
I know, right? Like, killing Vanguard brings a tear to my eye. But I haven't had to kill Archaon recently, so we're still all good.
There you go. You're safe.
Yeah, exactly. If 12 Vanguard wasn't enough, 15 Vanguard was up next. I played against the Abraxia Regiment of Renown, where you get the additional abilities, so like +2 move, and then you get an ability for each different Vanguard unit.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've ever seen it. I've not really looked into it a huge amount, but it's pretty cool. Do I think it's stronger than the Eye of the Gods? Probably not. Abraxia, I thought she was much bigger as a model. She is tiny.
She's on Bellacor's base, I think.
Yeah, she is. She's
same
like
size.
It's weird. Like, I know obviously she's like a human, effectively, on top of a lizard, but I expected the mount to be bigger.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I played James Everly from South Coast Eternals. So know James quite well. We've played at lots of events together. Paul Buckler runs his club down there, who's the brother of the person that runs our club where we're based, Rich Buckler.
Okay, funny.
So there's quite a lot of intermingling between Lance and Buckler and the South Coast Eternals. So they run an event in the summer called Doggers, where everyone camps at Paul's farm, and then we play. It's like the Ryder Cup of Age of Sigmar. So we've got have a Ryder Cup score table, and you play different types of Warhammer throughout the weekend to earn points for your team, etc. Which is a highlight of a lot of people's summers. They put on a big barbecue and just hang out till the early hours of the morning, and then try and work out which tent is your own. So know James quite well. Had a few games in the past. I don't ever think at a tournament though, but just playing at pools. But I had to play on 6 objectives, and his army doesn't want to stay stood on circles. So as soon as he teleported off, I just, well, no, he didn't teleport off. I teleported on as soon as he moved off.
Yeah.
So I was just scoring points for fun every turn. And again, I used Soul Screen Bridge to deny the speed or the extra speed of these Vanguard by measuring out how far their 12-inch movement was, making sure they just couldn't clear the base of the Soul Screen Bridge with their move. I was kind of happy if they charged it because I knew they'd then kill it, and then I could then countercast it if he won the double. But in the end, he won priority. Realised I was sat quite deep because I was a bit conscious of a double turn from 15 Vanguard.
Yeah.
So I didn't allow anything to come in turn one. So he gave me the turn, which was definitely the right play, and I had like four attempts at a 10-inch charge to get my battle tactic of slay the entourage. So I had to kill a Braxia.
Oh boy.
So what I did was I set it all up. He didn't get a big enough redeploy, so I had the 10-inch charges. And fortunately, the only unit that got in was the 20 Gut Rippers that were fully buffed.
Yeah.
The kill bow took like 10 damage off her, being rend 3, damage 6. And then sent the 20 Rippers in, charged her, lifted her, pinned the other 6 Vanguard so that they wouldn't get the +1 attack on the charge, knowing that it was his go next.
Yeah.
He wasn't locked in combat at the beginning, so I knew he wasn't double fighting in my turn. And then his turn, I think he whiffed quite hard with the -1s to hit, and I also then cast shards out to block the space where they could pile in, so they couldn't fight as many Gut Rippers.
Yeah.
And then I won Prio again, and the game was over. So that was another big win, 48-12 against James. Had a lovely game. He was ecstatic that he was 3-0 on day one. So 2-0 even. He was like, I've got my 2 wins already. Happy days. But that meant I had a really tough game in the morning. So 3-0. We're playing against one of the baddies. We're playing against Lumineth. So played against the absolute saint that is Dan Arnold, fellow Team Lip member, captain of the Welsh team. So we had captain of Wales versus captain of England. It was Lumineth versus Kruleboyz. Played what I think was a really good game. I think I played it really well. Just got a tad unlucky. We were playing shifting objectives. I used the terrain really well to really shut down the Sentinels. So the Sentinels barely shot me until it was vitally important. So I think it was turn 3 this all happened. So turn 2, I'd taken off the 10 Dawn Riders with 20 Gut Rippers. I didn't even have the damage buff on them. It was just the crit mortals. He was just outside of the aura of Teclis for the ward save, and I'd done a bit of damage when he had come in and hit me on his turn 2. But again, the dirty tricks, turning off the extra damage on the charge, making them fight last, then making them -1 to hit. It was super strong, and it restricted any of the real output that the Dawn Riders were going to do to me. And then 20 Gut Rippers went in. Like I say, they only had the crit mortals on 5s and 6s, and they took off. I think like seven Dawn Riders. Through a 2-up save. But that was really good. And then the worst rule in the game: redeploy and counter shoot. So I thought I was being really clever. I was walking around the terrain, lost a bit of movement so that I could stay whole within 3 of the terrain, so these sentinels couldn't see me. And then he redeploys, gets in range, and then unleashes 41 shots with crits on 5s and 6s into my gut rippers. I think I lost like 8 gut rippers to this, as I'm set up to kind of go and kill Techless. All I'll say is why does it count as a run when you redeploy so you can't countercharge, but you can effectively run and shoot even if you can't run and shoot?
Yep.
I know it's the rule, and it got designer commentary, but either it needs to cost more command points. But even then, I don't think Lumineth will care. I think they're going to do it every turn. Because why wouldn't you want to shoot someone 82 times in a battle round?
Yeah.
The other thing is, a lot of the time, people are trying to be clever by moving a unit to make sure that's the unit that they shoot. And then if you get a big enough redeploy, you change your target anyway to what you want it to be.
Yeah.
Or KO, for example. Because of how far you can move with that redeploy using the boat, you completely change what you're shooting. So I really think it needs to get looked at in terms of that. It's not just me being salty about it. Probably sounds that way, but lots of people at the event that I spoke to felt the same way, that redeploying counter shoot just shouldn't be a thing. And actually that even if counter shoot stood alone as it is, it should be 2 command points like counter charge, because certain units that, like Sentinels, I think, which are probably the best in the game at it, with the honor guard ability to be +1 to hit, +1 to wound in shooting as well.
Yeah.
82 shots a turn is rough. Like, I don't care what you're playing, getting shot that many times hurts. So yeah, I lost like 8 gut rippers to that, which really lowered my damage output from them in order to go and kill Techless. So I'd sent my gut rippers into Techless. I then put 2 other 5s of gut rippers into Techless, because I'd lost so much already. A unit of monster killers. Had him fight last. Got to hit him with everything. Left him on 2 wounds. So this turn that could have been a 9-point swing ended up being a 0-point turn. Techless is alive. A fox is alive, barely, but if Techless died on the initial swing from the 20 gut rippers instead of 12, the rest of the army gets to fight this fox, and then the fox is dead. And then all that's left going into the priority roll is a fox and 20 sentinels. And then from there you're like, this looks really tough for the Lumineth now. I know they still got a lot of shots, but they're killing 1 thing a turn.
At max,
And then I can start rallying, I can start using the terrain again, and just being able to get more bodies on the objectives, or sending 2 units down the table at the Sentinels who don't have shooting combat, get in combat with them. So after this 0-point turn, I then lost the priority. So not only was Techless not dead, I just lost the priority, and at that point you just lose the rest of your army through the Techless bomb, the rune of petrification, the 42 shots you're about to take to your face from the Sentinels. So lost 37 to 14, and had a great game with Dan. Dan gave me probably one of the cleanest games of Warhammer I've ever had. Really consistent with his communication, his measuring, his intent, his dice. So kudos to him. Congratulations on the 5-0 to himself and Matt Goldsborough, who also used Lumineth. So yeah, well done to them. And congrats to Dan, who ended up taking out both Marshall brothers all on one day. So he then beat my brother on the top table, game 5. Yeah.
Oh well, there you go.
Yeah. After that, I had a pretty straightforward game with Luke Churchus. It was against Trogs on 6 objectives again. So Trogs want to fight you in the middle. I can fight you in the middle, and I bounce around.
Yeah.
So we had a pretty quick game of him moving to the middle, me jumping on objectives, and killing his Trogs, teleporting to his shrine, kill his shrine, can't bring anything back, blah de blah de blah.
Yeah.
So
pretty straightforward.
Yeah, relatively. But again, Luke's an absolute saint, and love him to bits, and glad we got to play and hang out, and I look forward to the next one. So ultimately, 4-1 wasn't really the result I went there for. I think Kruleboyz can definitely 5-0.
Oh, 100%.
Like I say, having played with that list 8 times now, I already know what iteration I'll change it to. I think it's different for teams than what it is singles, because you need to be prepared for all types of matchups. But I'm really looking forward to getting them back out on the table in due course.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Well, the list itself already seems like superbly thought through. A couple of elements, of course, you can share at your own discretion where you'll take it. But if you take a list to an event and you take it to the 4-1, but you want that 5-0, you're hungry for it, how do you sort of approach the evaluation of units? Do you look at how well they performed during specific games, what weak points were of certain units, or is it just take something out, see what the points leave you with, etc., and build an army from there that could go 5-0?
So for me, I'll be pretty transparent. I look at what I didn't feel like I got the most utility out of, and where I could manipulate what went really well during the event. So the big thing for me was I never needed the 3rd unit of 20 Gut Rippers, really. So that would probably get stripped out. The monster killers were far better than I probably thought they would be. You kind of look at them as a base profile with the potential damage output, the 14 wounds, 5 up save, etc. But the way in which they play within the rules in the index just lean into how that army wants to play, with jumping around and teleporting. Points efficiency, they're fantastic.
Oh, 100%.
So I'd probably go maybe another 2 units of monster killers for the 20 Gut Rippers. So I'd end up being 5 units of monster killers. And with the leftover points, I'd get another shaman, because the spell lore is unbelievable. I think once you start getting into the realm of 5 units of monster killers, you have to change the sub-faction.
Yeah.
So I would go to the sub-faction that allows you to use the teleport twice per turn. So
go super mobile, basically.
Yeah, you've got 2-up teleport, 3-up teleport, 4-up teleport, 5-up teleport, which allows you to just spread all across the board. It makes you even better at playing the 6s and the 8s. But also, you've still got those 2 units of 20 that will just destroy anything in the middle of the board. And even a unit of monster killers with double damage, with the addition of the rend that they have, they're gonna smash things off as well. So really like the monster killers. Really enjoyed the shenanigans of all the teleports. So I think moving forward, that would be my change. It'd be interesting to see, because within a singles environment, you still need to prepare for your shooting armies, and maybe having the more MSU means you're not as subjective to the counter shoot, because then you're only losing a small unit opposed to them trying to target the big 20s all the time.
Yeah.
Also, you've got more play around setting up these units of monster killers to make them closer than your 20s, so the counter shoot, they're always having to just shoot these small units. Just have to see and play around with it. But I think that's where I'm looking at going with the list next.
Nice. All right. So expanding into more expendable units with higher mobility options, but way more ways to make use of the Kruleboyz shenanigans. And the spell lore.
Exactly.
And the spell lore.
Exactly.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that was the summer event, the big one. What's next? What's the plan? Where are we going?
Next is LGT. So I think there's quite a lot of the England team going again this year. So it should make for quite a competitive event.
Nice. Yeah.
I think I'm going to go home. Yeah.
Do you think they'll accept you back after you killed 27 of them on the weekend?
Yeah, well, let's hope. Big Daddy Archaon needs to come off that shelf. I'm gonna play Spoon's list that he's been smashing face with over in France. I think I had a little chat with him today on Twitter, talking about going back to Archaon and also talking about Kruleboyz. And it's been a long time coming for me. I've probably not played Archaon for 18 months. And
oh boy.
I miss him. He's collected a bit of dust. It would be great to get him back on the table, and I hope I can succeed with him. So I'm really looking forward to having a go and putting him on the table. So yeah, that I think will be me. I think I'm looking at him now, just gazing up at him, hoping he's gonna give me his blessing.
He'll let you know who takes the next turn.
Exactly. As long as he rolls the 4-up, then it's all go. Like, you're gonna get doubled. My head is telling me, or I need to get my Lumineth built and painted. So I'm going to pretend that I'm going to take Lumineth to LGT, get it all built and painted as a deadline to be like, you need to get this done for LGT. And then I'm just going to take Archaon. So that'd be super fun. I've also had to buy the Fell Riders for it, and they look like incredible models. So yeah, looking forward to it. Hopefully get some practice games in this week with it, which would be nice. Kind of feeling a bit more comfortable around my job and everything in terms of getting used to the workload, etc. So now I'm in a position whereby the King of the Reps is going to come back. So my brother's out-repped me. I need to reclaim it. So yeah, I'm just really looking forward to AOS 4 now, especially after getting that first event in, being close but far, in the sense of having an opportunity to try and take it out. It's got me hungry for the next 5-0 and event win. So fingers firmly crossed that I can reclaim my LGT title with big bad Archaon.
I believe in you. Speaking of AOS 4 in general, a little bit other upcoming channel news. It's happened this past weekend. Phil attended Blackout, Matt attended Nova Open, and a week before that, I went to a tournament in the middle of the Austrian Alps. So we've all had a tournament in AOS 4, which means, and this is a short drum roll, da-da-da-da-da, we're going to do a tier list, we're going to do a review, early thoughts and forth. Yippee! All three of us in a video again together. Last time we've done this was Brotherhood.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
That's literally the third video we've ever uploaded.
Wow,
and
yeah.
8 months ago now, pretty much.
Yeah.
So
it'd be super cool to get all three of us back on, and yeah, really looking forward to doing well, probably not even early thoughts on AOS 4 now. It's been out 2 months.
Post-tournament thoughts. Put it that way.
Exactly.
We all play different armies as well, so
different armies, different play styles. We probably all have different opinions, so it should make for an interesting hour or so of discussion and seeing what will join Nighthaunt on our S tier.
100%.
Or the Nighthaunt tier, as some people are calling it.
But first, we'll have to get that scheduled. Notice of when that video will be going live will be coming on our Twitter page and maybe through YouTube community feed if we can get that to work at some point. I don't know. I don't necessarily know the inner workings of our YouTube channel, the back doors, too well. But I'll take a look at it. We'll figure it out. But until then, something you can definitely look forward to is a review from my tournament, Tales in the Wood 11, and the Nova Open 2024 from Matt's perspective. That'll be coming at you in the coming weeks. So please, don't forget, stay subscribed, catch all our news on the Twitter pages, follow us, do whatever you like. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you want to bash Phil for punching a lot of Vanguard, leave a comment. And yeah, just remember, guys, you get no extra points for being a cunt.